AITA for asking my sister to contribute half the expenses of maintaining my mom's house. My mother has just one asset, her house. She doesn't have enough money saved up to provide for her future retirement needs. My wife and I are the ones who are paying for it. My wife is a doctor, therefore she makes a nice wage and we are able to provide for her medical needs. During the previous 5 years, we have been paying her around $2,000 each month, in addition to covering any incidental or emergency expenses. We've also taken care of all of our major house repairs, and I've never sought my sister for assistance since she isn't in the same financial situation as we are. My mother wanted to get her financial affairs in order and asked me to aid her in this endeavor. When she was asked about writing her will, she said she was planning to do so. She said that she wanted to transfer ownership of the property to my sister. She does not have any other significant assets, which implies that my sister will get more than 90% of her total assets. The fact that my mother would try to sway the bequest in her favor was always something I was aware of, and I didn't mind it. I believe that by supporting her, I might help my sister. My sister needs it immediately, and we are already doing really well. This has caused me a great deal of distress. I realize that being fascinated with the house is selfish, yet it makes me feel bad. I'm the one who is always there for her when she's sick, and she almost cuts me off at the knees when she's not feeling well. My sister isn't having a difficult time at all. She is comfortably middle class. If she were really in need, I might understand her frustration. This occurred around 1 month ago. My mother requested me to contribute to the cost of repairs to the house, which I agreed to do. I got in touch with my sister and asked her to chip in with half of the cost of the trip. Despite the fact that it is inconsequential, I do not understand why I should pay for a house that I will never own. Then she spoke to her mother, who was unhappy with me because I asked her for money when we could have done it ourselves. She says it is terribly petty and selfish of me to ask for money from someone who earns less than we do when we have the means to pay for it ourselves. I definitely feel like a jerk, but if I think about it rationally, I can see why she's doing what she's doing. I understand why my mother would want to hand over the reins of the household to my sister, but the decision still disturbs me. Furthermore, she considers me to be a horrible sister for having her pay for stuff and then just dumping the bill on her head afterward. Update. Although I was feeling a great deal of sorrow for my conduct, the overwhelming majority of the replies supported me. I informed my mother of the amount of money we had spent on her and the amount of money we intended to spend on her in the future. She couldn't even budge 1 inch. I was becoming more upset, and we ended up yelling at one another. She said that she preferred that her money be distributed to her biological grandchildren rather than to our adopted children. It tore at the inside of my heart. My grandkids have a strong attachment to their grandma. They are head over heels in love with her. Her acts have never seemed to me to be in any way. She was infatuated with them at all times. I'm not sure where you're getting this information from. Then she went on to add that the house was my father's hard-earned money, and she couldn't give it away to someone who didn't have my father's approval. He told me that he would have preferred that the money be distributed to my sister and her biological children rather than to children who did not even resemble him in physical appearance. I'm not sure how she managed to keep up the pretense of love for my children for a decade. It had me completely fooled. It had a magnetic effect on everyone. I'm completely at a loss for words. We have stopped to provide financial assistance for her retirement. Eventually, she'll have to put her house on the market. Her eyes welled up with emotions as soon as I shared what my mother had told me about my father. She said that she would be in charge of arranging the acquisition of our mother's new home. For the first time in a month, I have no plans to see her for an extended period of time. Story 2. AITA for refusing to walk my daughter down the aisle. My 26-year-old daughter and I haven't communicated in years. We discovered she wasn't my real daughter when she was 15 years old, and my wife had cheated on me with a friend years before. As it turned out, this so-called friend was suddenly interested in assuming the role of father. When my wife and I split, my daughter discovered the truth, and I assured her that I still loved her no matter what. Of course, she was now interested in seeing her biological father, and although it hurt, I attempted to accept it. After that, she began to draw away from me. Even when we tried to do things as a family, she was no longer interested. The breaking point came when she was 20 and living at my place. We were bickering because she had stopped her college classes, hadn't done anything in 3 months, and was upset because I told her she needed to go to school or work if she wanted to be here for free. She informed me I'm not her biological father, so quit acting like I am, and she'll go live with her biological father. To be honest, it shattered me. But I informed her that if that's how she really feels, there's nothing more to say between us, and she did leave to live with him. I was sad for a long period and drank a lot. My main motivation to keep going was my baby, 24M. I reached out to my daughter for the first couple of years. I learned to accept her request for no contact and to move on. It aided me in achieving more tranquility in my life. My son was furious with her and stopped talking to her for a long as a result of this. They still talk sometimes, which doesn't bother me at all. He informed me that her biological father died in October 2019. Also, she's engaged. She contacted me, stating that she is aware that we haven't communicated in a while, but she would want to know whether I would be willing to lead her down the aisle. I told her no after a lengthy message about how much she had wounded me in the past with her behavior. She didn't want me to be her father anymore, so I stopped thinking of her as my daughter. This evolved into a disagreement between us since she said it wasn't her fault. She wanted to know who her biological father was, and I agreed with her that it wasn't her fault, but what was her fault was how she had treated me ever since. In my mind, I know that if he hadn't died, we wouldn't be talking right now. It concluded with her saying, "I hope she loves her wedding, but I don't want to be a part of it or her life." My son informed me that she is shouting to my relatives about how I am destroying her day and that she believes parents are meant to love their children unconditionally. My brothers seem to believe that I am being a jerk and that this is my second opportunity to be in her life. But I'm not interested in that. Everyone still seems to think I'm making it impossible for my daughter to have the wedding she wants, even though it would mean a lot to her. My kid is on my side, but the remarks are wearing me down, and I'm wondering if I'm being in a hole for the sake of my sanity. Update: thank you for your continued support, particularly those other parents that responded to my messages. Advice, opinion, and recommendations on what to do regarding my family. It required sending a mass SMS to everyone who wouldn't leave me alone about this to get them to listen. It took some time for me to figure out what to do and cleanse my mind of everything. The reminder of all I tried to do over the years to be in her life and where it all went wrong. How damaging that was to my mental health. They can all recall what it was like. How much it placed me in a dark place that required a lot of treatment and the desire to be there for my kid to help me get out of. After that, my brother contacted me and apologized for the manner he was pressing this. We had a much longer discussion. I informed him that my choice to stay out of her life was final. So he respected that, and since no one else has said anything, I'm assuming everyone received the message. The best suggestion here was to tune out the people talking things in her. It wasn't helping my mental health. I called her to chat about how she's been acting online and about the rest of the family. I apologized for how things went down and wished she hadn't had to cope with such life-changing events at such a young age. For the last 6 years, she has made the same decision that I have. I also asked her to be honest with herself and respond, not to me, if we would be here right now talking if her biological father hadn't died. She remained silent, but that's all right. It's a question she has to address honestly to herself. Like I said earlier, I advised her to enjoy her wedding and wish her a happy and healthy marriage. And now that the door to our connection has been closed, I hope she will make peace with it and enjoy her life as much as I have. The conversation came to an end soon after that. She didn't specify whether she would stop talking about me online, so I simply blocked her and others on her mother's side of the family to make sure there was no more bugging. Yours is the peace of mind I needed, and I'm pleased I followed this counsel.